The program you're about to listen to is intended for a mature audience.
Not intended for ears under 18.
We are not licensed professionals. Don't take anything we say seriously.
In fact, it's shocking we have driver's license.
We will mock many things in this program. That doesn't mean we don't respect the thing in question.
Please don't sue us.
Oh, spoiler warning for just about everything.
Obviously, we don't know how to keep our mouths shut.
Ladies, gentlemen, and everyone else on this big wide gender spectrum, thank you for opening this leaking bag of weeb. This is Crow.
And this is Sora.
And today, we asked you, the audience, what you wanted to hear from us. And user Zavrik asked us this.
Your underrated series.
So let's start a conversation. And to start off with, this is tricky because for a long time, I was a big fan of things like Rosario Vampire, which I didn't know was not underrated and looked like an absolute fool when I talked about it at high school. Because, you know, everyone's horny in high school.
Yeah, I had a very similar situation with Rosario Vampire, actually, in my high school. I'm pretty sure we went to different high schools in different countries or states altogether. So,
yeah.
It's
we met each other like 5 years ago. There's a pretty solid chance we are from completely different places.
I bring that up only because it's I'm pretty sure we were so far apart, it's surprising that so many people so far apart knew of, like, Rosario Vampire, or for me, Black Butler.
Or High School DxD. Or High School of the Dead.
Exactly.
Which at this point has become such a meme, and I love that. However, I thought it was underrated.
Which is surprising for me, because I feel like I've watched the anime become more popular here in America, and High School of the Dead is definitely one of those for me. It's very much...
It was a crime they took it off Netflix.
Yeah. I feel like... Because there was a huge resurgence, I guess, for Black Butler. Everybody... for me, it was everybody seemed to be really into it after I had already seen all of it. And that was very much the same for me with High School of the Dead. I had already seen all of it, and I didn't know very many people that were really into anime as a whole in my high school until, like, 3 years in. And then everybody was talking about High School of the Dead. Everybody was talking about Black Clover. Or not Black Clover, Black Butler. And then it got super popular. I was very confused.
Yeah, no. I started getting into anime when I was younger, so it was a lot of like, oh, I just assume all anime is underrated because no one knows what the hell I'm on about, which was kind of weird for the sake that I watched things like, you know, the normal stuff. I watched Dragon Ball, and I watched Sailor Moon, but had no concept of what I was watching, but I thought I was super cool because no one knows what I'm talking about.
No one else watches anime, and so if I'm watching anime, I'm cool. That's what it was like for me in middle school and high school.
Exactly.
So I guess underrated in this context is a difficult subject, actually. Because it was, and now isn't. Or wasn't, and we weren't aware.
I still feel like there is the possibility of underrated anime in the fact that, like, there is a good chance, especially around friend groups, that there is a thing you've watched that you can pretty much guarantee that A, someone didn't watch it because they didn't think they liked the category, or, you know, B, they just don't know what you're talking about because they don't watch the same animes you do. Like, for instance, if I said, hey, how did you feel about School Life Club? You have no idea what I'm talking about because I was super into it and went, this is great! And then went to ask someone else and they're like, I have no idea what that is. I'm like, alright, cool.
That's how I felt reading Lovecom, which is short for Lovely Complex.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, it has an anime. I never watched it. Mm-hmm. I read the manga while I was in high school. I used to go to the public library all the time, and they had like almost all of it, and I started watching it. It's how I ended up liking slice of life media, actually. For some reason, that's what gripped me into that. But that was already after anime had become more popular here in America, or I guess in Eugene. So it was really weird. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's popular or not. I still don't know, honestly.
Is anything ever really popular? Yes, I don't know what I just said. Yeah, Dragon Ball. It's got Naruto, a million different versions of abridged, and Super Saiyan 5 is almost canon. So
don't want to think about that.
Oh yeah, it's a big white version of Super Saiyan 4, and it's way stronger and way cooler because this guy wrote it.
I thought Super Saiyan 4 was... Anyways. So, like... So it underrated series for me started very much with, like, Rosario Vampire. Because I remember collecting the manga for that when I was pretty young, and I still have them. They're pretty old now. And, like, Black Butler and High School of the Dead, especially, for a little while. But every time I think of underrated series, I very much fixate on Lovecom. Because I don't know a single person who has read it or seen it in any way.
Yeah. For me, I think my favorite underrated series that I've seen, and I can guarantee pretty much no one else has, is still probably School Life Club. Because, you know, that stems... Honestly, so it's actually cool, because that leads into this thing I want to talk about, is the fact that, like, I didn't know I was into a certain category of anime or shows or anything until one version of it popped up and like, holy hell, I love this thing. I don't know what it is, but I want more of it, which oddly enough was not School Life Club. I went looking for School Life Club after I figured out that was my gimmick. The first thing that got me into it was Doki Doki.
Doki Literature Club?
Yeah.
Oh.
Which is slice of life, but which is ironically my favorite thing. Slice of life, but someone's a god. Slice of life, but one of the girls is aware that everything's a simulation and can fiddle with things.
Right.
Fiddle? Anyway, School Life Club. It's a school slice of life anime, except it's the zombie apocalypse and one of them can't control the concept of reality. What?
Yeah, I think my first, I could be wrong, but I think my first real time delving into that specific, like, slice of life, but was the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya.
Bro, I forgot about that. Oh my god, I even mentioned the whole slice of life, but one of them's God. Oh, yeah. God, okay.
It doesn't know it.
So, kind of late middle school to, like, early high school, I worked at my uncle's shop. He ran this little anime shop in, Port Angeles called Anime Cat. The icon was a cat girl. It was hilarious because, like, it is a very, like, not open-minded, especially, town. And the fact that he was just like, I'm going to open an anime shop. And the entire town was like, all right, cool, go for it. And it was like, oh, that's so weird. My uncle's, like, the coolest guy because he likes the thing I like. So then I got a job there. Not legally. I don't know that I should say that. But it wasn't really a job so much as I came in and I dusted the shelves every so often and put stuff away. But he always... And he couldn't pay me. So instead what he did is every week or so that I had a full work week, I could just rent something. Which turned into me renting a lot of really random things.
From the shop?
From the shop.
Oh.
I had my own little account in the system that I could just access and rent something. One of the first things I rented was Haruhi Suzumiya, the first disc. And unfortunately, I broke the anime 3-episode rule, watched the first episode and went, the hell is this? And then watched the second one and was like, is this the same thing? Did I miss something? Oh god, what have I done? I got the wrong disc, clearly. So I brought it back and never talked about it again.
For me, the 3-episode rule for anime, I didn't know about until after I got out of high school. So I was already, like, 18. And I kind of just, like, looked at the cover for anime or manga. I was like, this looks interesting, and read it, or didn't read it.
Oh my god, that's so dangerous, because then you could end up with things like, again, School Life Club, which I'm pretty sure on the cover is just this very cutesy thing, until a certain point when it's like, oh wait, things aren't cute. And also, I don't think Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya specifies that, one of them's a god.
It doesn't. Actually, that was just recommended to me by a friend in high school.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I watched it. I was like, it was hard for me to watch for a little bit, not gonna lie. Mm-hmm. While all these weird, wacky characters are introduced pretty early on, I had a hard time trying to. I still don't actually think I finished it, actually, which sucks because they released the disappearance of Nagito Yuki-chan, I think, which is a continuation of that, which is one of the characters just disappearing and everyone trying to find her, I think. And I still haven't gotten into it again. I got like, I don't even know how far in. I think maybe roughly halfway through and never finished it. For no reason, by the way.
Oh, okay.
I just didn't. But Lovecom was my first slice of life introduction, and I do very much enjoy slice of life now because of it. But I am still very picky about it. So seeing the cover of a cutesy girl, for example, on a cover of a disc or a manga, isn't actually necessarily enough to grab me.
Yeah, like if I see a thing and I go, yeah, there's no way I'm going to be into this, and then later on someone's like, no, you should definitely get into this, I will at least watch it, and a lot of the times I do. Like, what was it? Was it Love is War that you told me that I really definitely needed to watch?
Yeah.
Yeah, and since then...
Kaguya-sama Love
Kaguya-sama Love is War, yeah.
Yes.
No, that's definitely one of those I do want to go back to, because I'm like, wow, this looked really stupid, and now I'm like, this is really stupid and right up my alley, and I love that.
It is a great series for what it is, honestly.
Which is great, because I've seen memes of those characters dancing or something, and always been like, this seems dumb, and like dumb in a way I don't like. But shockingly enough, it is.
I think that it fits your idea of slice of life, but in a different way. Because it's not slice of life, but something super dramatic or super over the top. It's slice of life, but these characters can't confess to each other at all for no reason.
Which, after that, I realized slice of life, but doesn't need to be dramatic. Does not need to be slice of life, but everyone's a zombie and has been the whole time. But slice of life, but things a little bit just dibbly, and that's perfect. I love that. Chef's kiss.
Yeah, I think it's pretty... I thought it was pretty good. I can't wait for it to continue. I can't wait to finish it.
Okay.
I can't wait to see how it continues, honestly. Which I guess is pretty interesting, actually, now that I think about it, because slice of life, but is kind of a wide spectrum.
Yeah. And sometimes I'll judge something and go, oh, that's just a normal slice of life, until someone's like, oh, but. And then I'm like, okay, all right, shoot it my way. I'll look at it, and then I go, beans, I do like this.
Would you consider, like an anime that starts off slice of life-ish in the first episode, and then like halfway through the episode, or even in like the second episode, becomes very not slice of life-ish, slice of life, but...
Well, that's again the 3-episode rule. Give something like 3 episodes. Because if you do the first episode for Haruhi Suzumiya, for example, you're not going to get it, because that's a completely different thing. Because episode 0, or however they title it, is the production they make in the show they're starring in, with like no context. So you're just like, there's an orange-haired bunny girl who helps and is an alien? I don't know what this is. And then the next episode starts and it's like, oh no, it's a slice of life from this guy's perspective, and then it gets weird.
I don't remember the first episode for The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. It's been a long time.
Oh god, we watched it recently. It's still good, which is weird, because there's a lot of anime that like after enough time is like, I don't remember this part, or I don't remember disliking this as much. Like, for example, me and my other friend went back and tried to watch Our High School Host Club.
That doesn't
And
hold up.
as a whole, it's okay, but there are still a couple characters, or at least the way they talk, like the fact that like 10 minutes into the first episode, these, attractive men are just like, daddy, care for me, and you're like, oh, that has a different connotation now, and oh no.
I don't... I haven't seen Orange High School. I never actually watched Orange High School. I read it. Because it was in my... God. So I did community service in my library in order to get enough credits to graduate. Which
what
means
library crimes have you committed?
I didn't. They let me scan books for students so that they could check them in and out, and when I wasn't doing that, they just let me read books. So I read a whole bunch of different mangas, and not even like in order. Mm-hmm. Like I don't think I finished one series. I just read them.
Yeah, school libraries never have the whole thing.
Exactly. So I just read them as they were there. And Orange High School Host Club was one of those that I actually just kind of read most of, because most of it was there all the time. Mm-hmm. And I watched, I guess, a little bit of it with some friends a while back. I didn't like the anime personally. I like the manga a whole lot more. I don't think that could hold up too well today, personally. I think that's like with High School of the Dead, way better when you're younger.
Way better when you're younger, because at this point, if I watched it again as an adult, it'd be like, there is a lot of TNA in this, and it's very distracting from the thing I'm trying to pay attention to. And also, I'm confused by the logic of this show. And then, you have the whole titty bit where the bullet flies through, and you're like, oh, right, logic doesn't matter anymore. The coward of boners.
Right. For that specific criteria for me personally, one was definitely Black Butler. I tried to watch a little bit of it again after I turned 18 and moved out. Started living on my own, because I watched it in, I think, middle school, high schoolish time. I think in that time when I was transitioning between the two different schools. And I liked it. I liked it a lot, except for the second season. I didn't like how it ended. But I liked everything else about it a lot. But I don't think I could watch that all the way through again. It is very edgy, and I don't like edgy that much edge.
In a specific way, yeah.
Everybody wears dark clothing. Everyone likes to kill. There's always something super edgy going on.
Always.
And that's a little much for me now. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like some edge. There are some characters that are edgy that I will always like. Like Sasuke.
Love him.
The original Sasuke, not Shippuden Sasuke. He's great. But I don't think I could go into Black Clover. Dang it, Black Butler.
Way better Black.
Why would you
say that? Alright, cool. Gonna cut that in post, probably, unless I'm too lazy to edit it out. Anyway, to close out that segment, so my favorite underrated series, I think, is still School Life Club, just for the sheer what the hell is happening here. Yes.
I think my favorite underrated series is and always will be High School DD.
Smart.
For lots of reasons.
Still, but smart.
I don't know if it is still, but I remember very vividly that the only people I could ever talk to about it were two of my friends in high school.
Interesting.
And I don't know anybody else who had seen it at that point, and I haven't talked to very many people about it since.
All right. So before we get into this next segment that we have queued up, I want to bring up the fact that once we start doing more of these episodes, there's going to be a between the episode bit we want to do. We've been talking about it, where we watch something on a stream, which hopefully copyright doesn't hate that we're doing, in a Mystery Science Theater sort of context. So we'll watch it, we'll comment on it, we'll do stupid jokes about it, and then either in the next episode or in a coming episode, we'll talk about that. Hell, we'll probably even plug the fact that we watched it and where to watch where it is. We haven't set that up yet because, I don't know. But, yeah, I just want to talk about that. You wanted to do a thing?
Yeah, next on our show is a little segment called Never Seen It. I bet where one of us explains the entire plot of an anime, manga, a book, with seeing little to none of it, to the other person who's seen most, if not all of it. Let's talk about One Piece.
Oh, no. Okay, so... Alright, before I break it down, I just want to say I have seen, I think, like, I've seen two fights from One Piece. Luffy fights Sand Guy with barrels on his hand, and I think figures out that blood has enough water to punch a dude made of sand. And the second fight is, I think, from earlier in that arc, where someone uses a dog as a gun? Buzzer in. Yeah, someone uses a dog straight up as a gun, and then I just remember as a child being like, that, what? And then other part I've seen is they were in prison once for a little bit, and then I think a war just straight up broke out, and those are the only two parts of One Piece I've seen.
So, to preface this, between the two of us, have seen more One Piece, but I haven't seen more of it consistently. I have seen bits and pieces of it here and there. I watched from episode 1 to when Luffy gets stuck on an island full of only chicks, like all the way up to that, and like near the end of that, and then stopped watching it for no reason. And then I have seen random fights here and there, and I am currently watching through all of Wano.
Alright, so as far as I know, Luffy eats this fruit that gives him rubber man powers, so he's made of rubber, I guess, but he can't swim, which starts off this whole thing where he wants to be a pirate to search for the One Piece, which I think is like a really big pile of treasure, Captain Kidd style, but no one really knows where it is. Yep. And I know he has to go towards something called the Grand Line, which I think for them is like the end of the world because no one knows the world is round yet. But every arc starts with Luffy and his best bros, who I've seen edgy swordman, simp with legs. I think one of them has a slingshot. That's just straight up a reindeer. And assorted big titty lady that shows up along the way. There is a skeleton, and I do love his look. But they start the arc. They're like, hey, everything's going cool. Yada yada. I wonder if we're gonna learn a lesson, or let's all go on vacation and have like 5 minutes of peace and goddamn quiet. And then, surprise, something explodes and they all get separated. Now, we start with Luffy's perspective, because Luffy somehow ends up in the big boss's room and says something stupid and mildly offensive, actually. And the big boss man's like, you want to fight about it? And Luffy goes, heck yeah! And then they fight, and Luffy gets his ass kicked. And then we jump around to different perspectives between each character, where they're like, oh man, that hurt. I sure hope I could find Luffy or someone else. And then ends up in their own fight, where they either discover a new truth about themselves. Like, beans. If I walk and want to run away from something, I can just keep running. Albeit gravity exists, and just run up. Which is another thing that I've seen exactly one gif of and gone, huh? But ultimately, they all come together, all the friendos come together just in time to see Luffy, who did a big brain and figured out the bad guy's power, because, another thing, everyone has a devil fruit. Everybody. If they don't have a devil fruit when they're introduced, guess what? They either get one later, or they've secretly had one the whole time. I know how anime works. And then they see Luffy kick the big bad boss down a peg, and he's like, hey, join my crew. Or, hey, don't be an asshole. And then they fuck off, and the cycle repeats. Oh wait, no, you said there was an island of girls. They end up on an island of girls. Luffy figures out that his rubber changing powers means he can change his form to be that of a girl, and everyone's really cool with it. Trans rights, fist up, let's go. And then at some point they go to prison. Probably not for the trans thing. I feel like that shouldn't be prisonable. And then a war happens, and then Luffy punches a cop. Okay, cool, nailed it. One Piece.
I mean, surprisingly, you got a lot of that pretty accurate.
Yes! God, I'm so good at anime.
Yeah.
Do I get a... What grade do I get? A to F?
A to F?
A to F?
I would give that a C minus.
C's get degrees, baby. I think I still win this. Okay. Yeah, so that was Never Seen It, a bit that I hope comes back because I am a genius of media, and I want that to be known and written on my tombstone.
A genius of media in big,
Comic Sans.
bold... okay.
My tombstone will have Comic Sans. It will get pushed over or broken quite often, I hope.
So they're going to have to reprint it in Comic
Sans. In Comic Sans every time. In Comic Sans, but they'll just increase the font size just a little bit each time.
Do you think that they just mass-produce tombstones after a bit just to replace immediately after it gets broken?
No, I need there to be some kind of inconvenience to my death as I was in life. Okay, okay, cool. Next thing. So, let's get a little meta. Meta in this case means not Facebook, but into the real world. So when we started this was a twinkle in our eye. It was not actually. It kind of happened out of the blue, like a punch in the gut. We were leaving Eugene to go home, and somehow along the way, I don't even know that we started a conversation about it, but at some point we're just like, let's make a podcast. And then like a week? Was it like a week later?
Well, I mean, it was we were talking about something for a little bit, and then at some point during that, you just randomly said we should make a podcast because we're really good at ranting back and forth about any amount of dumb things.
Yeah.
And then for some reason I fixated on that, and then we started talking about how to make a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And then since then we've just been focusing really hard on how we were going to make this podcast.
Oh, yeah, no. So just to preface this, we are currently recording this and have been since about 8, almost 8:30. We sat down at about 6 and tried to discuss how we were going to do the intro. And it took us about 2 hours to start recording after that because we mean well, but oh boy, we're stupid. Like, and that actually kind of gives us a good point. So we are stupid. Just straight up. And we want to talk about a lot of things. The thing is, though, that we just sit here and talk to each other about a lot of things. And sometimes we run out of things to talk about. Small brain too small can dodge, though. And that's why one of the most important things we want to talk about was you, the viewer. We wanted to make it a medium that has some kind of social media aspect to it, in that once this episode closes, you can go onto this Twitter, onto this, I don't know what a Rumble is, but probably that, or a YouTube comment section, which I've always wanted to say leave a comment, which now that I'm saying it out loud feels really cringy.
Everybody wants to.
Everybody wants to say
YouTube.
Smash that like button. Do we have a like button? I don't know. But yeah, we wanted you to go down and talk to us. Give us a topic of conversation that you think is super important, or that you think is really stupid, that you want to hear in our seductive voices.
Oh
no, I just remembered that I can do voices. This podcast is over and I will be turning it off and jumping into the ocean. You ever just forget you can do a thing like that? Yeah, okay. But yeah, so that's something I want to invite. I want you guys listening to feel like you're included. I want you guys to be able to comment below if we fucking say the wrong thing. If I say something stupid like, this is the reason that Goku could punch Naruto in the dick and get away with it, I want you to be like, oh, well, actually consider Goku's too fast and would miss. Or something? I don't know. I think Goku could punch Naruto in the dick is a pretty solid controversial statement.
For the both of us, we want to start a conversation. That's the point of this.
That's the thing we talked about most on that car ride, is we want this to be a conversation between each other and between you.
And I think the best way to do that, or we thought the best way to do that, was to make a podcast and make it so you guys can respond to what we say.
Yeah, so just get your grubby little nerdy hands all around that tassel for this big old bag of weeb, rip it open, and scream into it. Scream into me. I don't know. I thought it was really funny when I said it in my brain, and then I said it out loud, and it sounded really gross. And I'm sorry for that.
I don't know how you could think that was really good to say.
I thought it was clever. I am the same person that thought starting the first episode of our podcast with "Thank you for listening to this leaking bag of weeb" was comedy gold. Speaking of which, oh my god, I cannot believe how stressful it is trying to find a name for a podcast. You want to know what the name for this podcast was that is still saved in my notes? This anime was called The Slice of Strife. Because, you know, we like the Slice of Strife podcast. Yes, obviously. It flows off the tongue like a brick. But, you know, we like slice of life animes, and we frequently argue about things. We're like, that is golden. And then we looked it up. There's already one, and no hate towards them. I'm sure they have a beautiful product. I loved their thumbnail, and I don't know why I didn't think, oh man, I want sliced bread. And I'm like, oh, that's golden. Oh, beautiful. I love that. I have no idea what they do. And I hope things are going well for them. But you bastards stole the name from us way before we came up with it. And then we came with the Weebly Wardrobe, which, as of right now, we have not changed most of our accounts to reflect that we've changed it to Bag of Weeb. But then we were talking to our roommates, and they said that we probably shouldn't do Weebly Wardrobe because we won't talk about clothing. We probably will at some point.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we will eventually, but it won't be the focus of conversation.
No, it's not going to be the whole gimmick. Not sure what Bag of Weeb has to do with it, unless we want to do an episode where we get high. Don't
No.
do that.
Don't.
Federally, drugs are not legal. If your state says it's cool, that's cool. No, drugs aren't cool. Don't.
Stop.
Hi, this is your terrible influence uncle.
Stop talking.
I can't. We went over this. If we start talking, we can't stop talking. We're stupid.
That's true. We did preface that. That was horrible. Yeah, so we went over a few names trying to come up with a name for our podcast, and it wasn't immediately like Slice of Strife to Weebly Wardrobe to the Bag of Weeb. We had a couple others.
Oh, we straight up went through a podcast name generator for like 20 minutes trying to figure something out.
And we came across some good ones that were either partially taken and we weren't sure would be a good idea to use because they were a part of another podcast, or were just straight up taken.
Okay, but I also want to talk about the fact that I want to call you out, Sora, for this. When we were coming up with names, you're like, I don't know that we should say Weeb in our title. I feel like that could be construed as offensive. And we're like, nuts, you're right. Okay, let's look it up and, like, see how it is. There were, like, at least 1,000 other podcasts with the name Weeb in the title. Yeah. So I guess at this point, it's just an insult that all of us Weebs have gotten used to.
I mean, to be fair, I said that, and you were like, yeah, that makes sense. And then we started talking about and looking up other names that also had Weeb in them for a good chunk of time before we're like, wait, why are we worried about the word Weeb?
God, I wish, audience, that I could tell you the number of Weeb titles we saw that were infinitely better than Bag of Weeb.
And taken.
Clearly. But I ask you this, if you can come up with a better name by the end of whatever you're listening to this on, tell us. Maybe we'll change it. And if we do, we'll blame you. I mean, thank you. Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, thank you. We will use it.
Absolutely. Other than that, I want this to be a medium where Beans, you ever just have a really good thought and then your brain is just like, hey, but what if I didn't, and then throws it in the trash?
Yeah, like all the time.
Cool. Okay, cool. God, we're so good at this.
Yeah, first episode,
golden. Give me an Oscar. What do podcasts get?
I don't... Do they get awards or medals at all? I don't think they do.
I don't know. You know what? You're right. Let me call up...
Views.
Give me a view.
No, that's not what I meant.
The viewiest view.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mr. Viewman.
No, stop.
All right.
Were you gonna bring up the fact that you wanted somebody with a bulletin board to like map out all the crazy stuff we say and connect it?
Yeah, drop all my secrets in the chat. Okay, so yeah, I'll give some context to that. So at some point, I want there to be, I don't even know what piece of information, it probably is not going to show up in the first episode or whatever, but I need, at some point, one of our viewers to send me a picture of their own conspiracy board specifically about this. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't even know what's going to be on that, but there better be red strings and thumbtacks.
It's in the center, it's going to have a giant bulletin board with question marks, and in all caps you say, the secret's hidden in plain sight.
The secret is obvious. Do your research. It's right there. And then, I'll be like, and then, doubt my entire existence based on this one topic. That's what I want. You know what? Episode 150, I'm gonna ask for it, and if someone sends it to me, I will cry on a live stream. I don't know what that means, but there will be snot. It's not gonna be pretty.
If someone managed to come up with an entire bulletin board, essentially, of the secrets hidden in our podcast, I would be worried, honestly.
Really?
There shouldn't be any secrets.
There shouldn't be any secrets. Not obvious ones.
Yeah.
I think so far the closest secret we've gotten to is where we are. And I'll tell you. We're in... There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Now you know where we are.
Yeah. Track me.
Find me. No.
Love me. Please don't. Or do.
I don't know how to respond to that. I'm not going to lie.
Understandable. Alright. So we managed to keep this going, but honestly, I think this talk's starting to get a little stale, so Let's seal it up, save it for later, and thank you for listening to The Bag of Weeb. If you want to reach us for topics you want to hear, find us at our Twitter, which will be, again, in the description below. Love saying that. This has been Crow.
This is Sora.
And we will see you next time.